What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fins Up Network. It's Ben Morgan, and our 2023 Miami Dolphins off-season positional previews continues today. This time we're addressing quarterback, and you're going to hear a lot of talk about quarterback too, because if you look at positions that are up need, obviously you got line, you got secondary, you got linebacker. We've proven the last couple of years that this team needs a quality backup quarterback. So we're going to be talking a lot about that in today's video. We previously covered wide receivers, cornerbacks, and honestly, if you just watched the cornerback video, you're probably like, dude wore the same shirt in that video. What is he stinky? Is he dirty? Does he wear the same clothes every day? I can assure you, maybe I'll wear clothes every once in a while, multiple days in a row. It's on the weekends, though. I'm doing this because I recorded these videos back to back so that I could stay on top of things for you, so that I could have one ready to go today. So if you haven't checked those videos out, go back, check those out. Like I said, we hit wide receiver and cornerback so far. Get subscribed if you are not already. Turn on those notifications. That way you won't miss anything. But our homework assignment, we got a homework assignment for you today. Who is your ideal choice for quarterback two? Like I said, that's going to be a lot. That's going to be a bulk of today's video. Are you looking at a guy in the draft? Are you looking at a guy in free agency? Whoever you are wanting the Dolphins to pursue this offseason, drop it in the comments. Would love to hear who you've got on your mind. Well, let's jump into what we were rolling with 2022, because obviously we had Tua, Teddy, and Skylar. All of them played, all of them started, and all of them got hurt. And as you can see there, 2023, we're technically rostering Tua and Skylar because Teddy's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So there's a chance potentially he were to come back as free agency. We'll get more into the free agent talk here in a second. But when the Dolphins signed Teddy Bridgewater, it was truly my hope that he'd be the one-year guy at quarterback too. And with how good Skylar looked in the offseason, with how good he looked in preseason, you were like, hey, the Dolphins are hanging on to three quarterbacks for a reason. They think Skylar can step in that backup quarterback duties in year two already. But after what we saw, and this isn't like a huge blow to Skylar Thompson. I don't mean this negatively, but man, we put a lot on him for a seventh round quarterback out of Kansas State. I don't think anyone anticipated him playing in 7 games and starting in our playoff game, the first one since what, 2016? So going into the season, like I said, in 2023, I hoped that Skylar could be quarterback too. I don't necessarily think that we can roll with that anymore. I think Miami has to add a guy, and my preference would be a veteran guy because we've seen it with Tua. I'm a Tua guy. If you followed Fins Up Network, you know that. But given the injury history, given the new concussions, despite the fact that Chris Grier, Mike McDaniel, they've moved forward and said, you know what, Tua's our guy. Well, they do have coming up later in, I think it's April or May, they got to make a call on that 5th-year option. So we'll see how they go moving forward with that. But we're going to need to make quarterback two a priority this offseason. I said that to start this video. So I still want Skylar on this team. I want him to compete for that position. But at the end of the day, I think we need to add a body. And let's start with some of the options in free agency. So you'll see on the list here, as I've been doing for these videos, I'm trying to describe how I've got these guys listed. As always, it's not every single free agent quarterback that is available. However, it's the top, what do we got here? 32, 24. There's a lot of them there. And they are sorted by yards thrown for in 2022. So obviously, if we're looking for a guy behind Tua, and his injury history so far has told us that he can't survive for a full season, if we're looking at a guy that we need to bring in my opinion, it's got to be a veteran free agent versus looking for a guy in the draft. And we'll talk about the draft here in a little bit. But a couple of guys that I personally have my eyes on, Taylor Heinicke stands out to me. And in reality, he does a good job of protecting the ball and making enough plays down the line. And hopefully, if you just need a guy for a game or two, he can provide something like that. He's to the point where his time in Washington is kind of come and gone. They're going to be moving another direction, I would assume, at this point in time. And he's not really likely on anyone's radar as a starter. So he's going to be going in there as a guy that knows he's likely a backup quarterback. But hopefully a guy that could, if injury were to happen, keep you afloat. because that's obviously what he did with Washington. Actually, what he did with Washington, he got them afloat after what Carson Wentz was doing for him. So he is definitely on my list. Cooper Rush, after the way he filled in for Dak Prescott and kept, what did he go, like 4-0 as a starter? He's got my attention. But another guy that definitely has my attention, and this feels weird to say, I don't think I would have been, I wouldn't have said this a couple of years ago, but here we are. Gardner Minshew. This guy, he's kind of, I almost want to compare him to Ryan Fitzpatrick in a way, where if Tua were to get hurt in the middle of a game and you just need a spark plug, Gardner Minshew is the ultimate spark plug. Where he gets into trouble is when he needs to start 3, 4, 5 games in a row. We don't want that, and obviously we need Tua to be healthy. That's the most obvious thing I've probably ever said in a Fins Up Network video. We don't want our backup quarterback playing more than he has to. So Gardner's not great, in my opinion, as that long-term solution for quarterback two if something serious were to happen to Tua. And I know we're treading kind of lightly on that because we've seen a lot of serious things happen to Tua over the last couple of years here. Give me 1 second here. I gotta refresh this list. I'll put this back up here for you. But Gardner Minshew has got my attention just because of the spark that he can provide and getting the ball out, getting the ball quickly, getting it to the playmakers. I think he can do that. And man, he has got just all sorts of juice going for him. That guy and Mike McDaniel would be a hell of a pairing. I'd like to go to a party with Mike McDaniel and Gardner Minshew because I might never leave. That might be the ultimate bucket list opportunity. And kind of wrapping up talk on these free agent guys here. I know there's going to be some eyes that are drawn to Jimmy Garoppolo. And obviously, if you're playing the familiarity card, that's one of the biggest reasons, his time that he's been able to spend with Mike McDaniel in the past. The thing for Jimmy Garoppolo is I almost feel like since Miami is so committed publicly right now to Tua, you almost feel like Garoppolo is going to want to go somewhere where he really has an opportunity to start. You'll see there, he's 31 years old. So not that he's super old, but that window for him to actually latch onto a starting job and keep it is closing. Because obviously being a free agent, he was playing good with the 49ers last year. He was doing a pretty damn good job. But that ship has sailed. Obviously, they're moving on. So this is kind of his window where he might not be content coming in knowing he's going to be the quarterback to somewhere. He might really want that opportunity to start. So I know there's an obvious connection there. I know that he's a reliable guy, kind of unlike Gardner Minshew, where if Tua were to miss 5, 6, 7 weeks, you can count on a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo to keep you afloat, to keep you winning games, to make that your offense doesn't have to be altered completely. But at the end of the day, I just don't know that Jimmy would want that, given where he is in his stage in his career. Let's focus on the NFL draft quarterbacks here for a hot minute because there's a guy on this list, and obviously it's not one of the top 4 guys because this quarterback class, you got Stroud and Bryce Young, who are essentially both of them. One of them, they could go number 1 overall, depending on if a team were to trade up there or not. You got Levis and Richardson, who are potential top 10 picks. So obviously the Dolphins aren't looking there. But a guy that I'm 100% going to be doing like an individual draft player profile on, a guy that I've got my eye on, a guy that I watched a lot of. I'm a Florida Gators fan, so I watch a lot of SEC football. Is Hendon Hooker. And if you look at Tua, what's a knock on him? Size and everything. Well, Hendon Hooker is 6'4", 220 pounds. So he is ideal size. And I tell you what, when he was healthy, when he was playing last year, Tennessee looked like one of the best offenses in entire college football. He had Tennessee rolling. He was averaging over 285 passing yards per game. He had 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions when he ended up going out with that season-ending injury. It was an ACL. The thing is, though, if you're looking at where the Dolphins are picking, you got the pick at 51 in the second, and then you've got 2/3. So the projections here, if you haven't been watching here, the little numbers in parentheses are kind of where the rounds that people are projected to get drafted are the cutoffs. So Stroud and the 3 under him are in the first. Hooker would be like the first guy in the 3rd round. And it's not an exact science. I've been saying that, but it's at least something to give us to use as a projection moving forward with these videos. But if you're looking at the Dolphins, and if you wanted to take a chance on Hendon Hooker, if you wanted to get him before anyone else did, you'd likely have to take him at that pick at 51. And not that that's a bad thing or anything, but the issue with taking a young quarterback in round 2 or 3 when you already have Tua and when you already believe in Tua and want to build around Tua, is that you're not taking a cornerback or a lineman or a linebacker or someone that can help you now. So I get it. We've been talking about backup quarterback a lot here and the importance of it and knowing how important that position has been the last couple of years and potentially maybe moving forward. And who knows if something, God forbid, anything catastrophic happened with Tua, if the concussions arise or anything, maybe you've got a chance to build around a guy like Hendon Hooker moving forward. But that's a tough decision that the Dolphins are going to have to face. And obviously, I'd love to address it in free agency and not really have to worry about the quarterback position when it comes to the draft. But I am very intrigued by what Hendon Hooker brings to the table because, man, like I said, he had Tennessee rolling. He was looking like one of the better quarterbacks because a lot of these guys towards the top outside of Stroud and Young, they didn't have the great seasons that everyone was projecting. They're being drafted this high because the position gets bumped up and the potential that was there for them heading into the season. But a guy like Hendon Hooker has my attention. And like I said, I'll be doing an individual draft player profile on him as we get closer to draft time. But buckle up, Dolphins fans, because yeah, Grier and McDaniel and the team has committed to Tua, but that quarterback 2 position is going to be as ever interesting as it probably has been in recent years here for the Dolphins. So checking that out. I want them to address it in free agency. Obviously, we can't rule out the NFL draft. But like I said, I want to hear from you. Who's your ideal quarterback 2 heading into 2023? Is it a draft prospect? Is it a free agent guy? Drop those in the comments. Want to hear what you've got. Next position that we're going to be tackling, another pun intended, two videos in a row here, tackling interior defensive linemen, Christian Wilkins, all those tackles. We're going to be knocking out interior defensive line with the next video. We'll have to see if I'm wearing the same shirt or not. Big surprise coming up here. We've got to leave you with a spoiler there, though. So until next time, Miami Dolphins fans, Fins